There we go, we should be recording. So thanks for joining us. I just want to say the last time we saw each other was obviously before we got put in lockdown.
It was. That's right, it was. Yeah, who would have thought? We had no idea what was going to be around the corner, did we? And how bizarre it's been, and how we're all communicating online and by Zoom. I mean, I do my whole show. This morning, my whole show was just talking to people on Zoom. When I think of it now, because sometimes I have Dr. Hillary in the studio. We're only allowed one person in the studio, and it has to be one of our regulars that's been tested. So we have Hillary and sometimes Mark for fashion, but we can only really have one person a day. So that means a lot of it's done on Zoom, which is fine. But like today, I was just about to do an interview with Ulrika and she just disappeared. So that's one of the things that happens quite a lot. But I think everybody's very forgiving because we're all in the same boat and we're all doing these kind of things. And even when I'm talking to my mum, sometimes it drops out and goes away. You know, that's the reality of it. But at least we've got the technology and we can do these things. So it's good.
And we've got the entertainment there as well, because a lot of people rely on your show. Just keep going.
Oh, yeah, people have been really nice. A lot of the feedback's been really good, and I think it's quite reassuring to see, you know, GMB's there. You know, like this morning, there's Ben and there's Susanna and Charlotte and everybody, and there I am, and then it's this morning, and then it's those women, and there's that sense of we're still there. You know, we've been going through a pandemic, and we're very lucky to be able to work. I know a lot of people can, and yeah, the feedback's been lovely. You know, people just saying thanks for being there, and you know, obviously we give the news, of course, and sometimes that's not particularly uplifting, but we always try and find something, a little bit of light somewhere, and maybe a little bit of fun as well if we can, because it's important.
I think that's what ITV do so well, is bring a little bit of like light relief to it. And
yeah, I think you have to, though. You know, obviously, of course, we have to be informed and we have to know what's going on in the world, and we do that, but as well as that, you know, there's lots of good things going on. You know, there really are. I think that's why Captain Sir Tom really, you know, captured our imagination, because, you know, this amazing guy who did incredible things, raised all that money, and just at that time when we needed him, there he was. So yeah, things like that have been really uplifting in the way that young people have been helping, and people have just been helping neighbours. And you know, if we can hang on to some of that spirit, it will be good. I understand people are getting very weary.
Yeah,
and you know, and pretty tired of it all, but we're so nearly there. You know, thank goodness we've got the vaccine, and we're getting there.
Just a few more months, hopefully, and then
hopefully, fingers crossed. Yeah, I mean, I've had my first jab. Mum and Dad have had theirs, and it's looking like by the summer we'll have done virtually, you know, certainly most adults. Done. So yeah, it's been a remarkable success. I mean, the NHS and the Army have done incredible things getting this out. They really have. They've been phenomenal. I wish they could have been in charge of everything.
Yeah, I know.
They've been in a better position. You know, the track and trace thing, which was an absolute debacle. You know, you'd like to have seen maybe the Army getting a hold of that. So yeah, but we're getting there. We're getting there. You have to be optimistic, I think.
And obviously, your show has had the best ratings it's had in a while. It's a record break.
I know, it's incredible. Well, I think it's obviously because a lot more people are around, you know, in their house. A lot more people are there, and there's been some big news stories, and people want news. You know, they do. Although I think they also want distraction, which I think is why the whole Harry and Meghan thing just went off the scale. And people have got very polarised about that. That's one thing I think is a bit of a shame, that you can't seem to have a debate one side against the other, or you know, without it getting toxic. You know, we should all be able to have our opinion. I might vehemently disagree, but it doesn't mean to say that you're not allowed to express those views. You know, as long as they're not like disgusting or harmful views. But you should be able to say what you think. You know, that's the thing about it. And I think that has been. But it's like everything now. Everything goes woo like crazy, and then there's another thing comes along.
A couple of days and everyone forgets about it.
I know.
God knows what else more might coming out.
I know, it's crazy, isn't it? But yeah, it's been very interesting times.
Obviously, Piers has left Great Britain. Will you
I know, it's very quiet.
I won't miss him doing the impressions of you at the end.
No, I won't miss that, but I will miss him. You know, he's unique. He's very, very much his own man, and you know, he felt that he didn't want to make that apology or whatever. I mean, I don't know. I wasn't there, so I'm not sure. But you know what? Piers will bounce back bigger and better than ever. And you know, he's one of those characters that even people that didn't like him very much still wanted to hear what he had to say.
Oh yeah.
And I have to say, behind the scenes, a very loyal friend. You know, if you were in trouble, he was there. You know, to give advice, to give help. And I understand that he drove some people around the bend. I mean, he drove all of us around the bend sometimes. He's really funny. But he's an interesting character, and he'll be fine. But he is, you know, he's been very kind to friends of mine. You know, he's worked very hard for the anti-gun lobby in America, and obviously over here. You know, I was in touch with him clearly over Dunblane, and he was very, very good to the parents. Yeah, so it's a shame. It's a shame that it's going to be very quiet. But the show goes on, Liam.
Oh, definitely.
The show goes on. You know, the show is bigger than just one person, and
yeah,
the show will go on. And you know, we've got some fantastic people there. They're a great team, both you know, in front of the screen and behind the screens. They're smashing, but he will be missed. Like I say, Hurricane Piers. It's going to be quiet, but he's all right.
So luckily, the first time that we met, I was doing a bit of work experience at ITV, and I thought,
right,
if I don't ask now, I'll never get the opportunity again. I asked you if you were doing an interview, and you said yes. Do you believe in like being at the right place at the right time?
Oh, absolutely. I think that always happens. I think it's important, and I also think it's important to give something back. You know, we all have help in our careers. You know, there's always been either mentors or people that have just given us a little bit of advice at the right time. And I feel very strongly, particularly as someone who's been working in TV for a long time, and as a woman, and as a bit older, and as working class Scottish and all the rest of it, that I've got a duty really to help other people, you know, in any way that I can. And I just think it's important. You know, what's the point of amassing a lot of experience and knowledge if you don't pass it on?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? There is really no point. So yeah, it's good to be able to do that. And, you know, we need more than ever, we need journalists, we need people that will just go, yeah, but why? It's that question, isn't it? And that can be a really, really serious topic, you know, or it can be, why did she wear that dress? What statement did she want to make? You know, she looks incredible, whatever. You know, like, it's interesting. Everything's news, isn't it? It's all interesting. It's all about being curious about things. And, you know, and that's why I love what I do, because, you know, one minute we are talking about attacks on women and how things have to change, and then the next minute, you know, I'm talking to Nathan, who sings the sea shanty, and who's, you know, and who was on Saturday Night Takeaway, and then I'm talking to Martin Compson from Line of Duty, and then I'm talking to Ross about the Grammys, and you know, it's all of that, and it's all right to be equally as interested in all those things. You know, that's okay. We're human beings. We should be interested in everything. Really. Yeah.
I think always a good journalist is as well interested in pretty much
absolutely. Always be why. Always be wondering what the reason is for that and why that happened. And then I think it's awfully important for us as journalists to make sure that we get the facts absolutely right. That should go without saying. But check and then recheck. You know, all the editors that I grew up with, it was always, they would say, source this. Make sure you get the source for this. Make sure the quote is right. Make sure you go back if you know, and everything has to be fact checked. And these days, maybe not quite so much. I think that's social media as well. I mean, I find it utterly bizarre that I'll read a story and it'll say a Twitter storm, and you sort of look into it a little bit more about somebody's caused a Twitter storm for whatever, and you see that 3.5 people have tweeted something and they've got 0 followers anyway, and that's become a story. And I think that's quite dangerous, because that can then whip things up. And I think as well, if things are taken out of context, it can be quite damaging, and we've seen that. You know, we've seen that happening a lot. It's certainly happened to me, and the trouble is, you get this kind of pile on from Twitter. But to be honest with you, I used to get really upset about Twitter stuff and about, you know, criticism on social media, and I don't block people. I just mute them. So I'm sure I told you, we talked about that before, didn't we? We talked about that when you were interviewing me. And I just think now, when I saw scandalously, and we've mentioned him before, that Captain Sir Tom was getting abusive tweets, which thank the Lord he never saw because his family kept them away from him. While he was, while he was ill, while he was on his deathbed, people were being utterly vile. And that's when I realised that it doesn't mean anything. Because if people can be horrible to somebody like that, you can't take the remarks to heart. Of course you can't. I mean, and they would never do it to his face or to your face or to my face. Of course they wouldn't, especially with the things that get said. And it's very disheartening. And it doesn't just happen to people that are in the public eye. It happens to everybody. And, if you're bullied at school, at least when you went home, that stopped. Mm-hmm. But now it doesn't, isn't it? No, it doesn't, because you've got your phone and people can get you all the time. It's dead easy for people to say, oh, well, don't look at it. But it's easier said than done, isn't it? Because the phones are very much part, particularly your generation, phones are so much part of your generation, and it's part of your life, It's a very important tool and a wonderful tool in many ways, but it's got a dark side, isn't it?
Oh, definitely. I mean, even when you put up that you'd got the COVID jab, there was people.
Oh my God, I know.
And it's like, I'm in the category. I can have it. It's bizarre.
I know. I was like, well, I'm 61 and I got called to go and get it, and it's amazing, and I'm so glad that I did. But yeah, I got absolute pelters for that, loads of abuse for, and people saying really mean things like, oh, well, that you're going to get a terrible illness, and you're going to be deformed, you're going to die because you've had this, and how dare you threaten everybody else's life by saying they've got to get it. And you sort of think, well, you could drive yourself crazy by thinking, what is wrong with these people? It's utterly baffling, and they're so convinced they're right. So convincing. And it's quite tempting sometimes to see, like, maybe there is 40, 50, 60 whatever tweets, or how many there may be, but you think that's tiny, it just looks a lot when it's coming up on your timeline, but that's actually small, and you've just really got to ignore it. It's the easiest thing in the world to say and the hardest thing to do. It really is.
It's sad, really, though, because Twitter could be such a nice place, and now it's been
taken off. I find Instagram quite nice. Instagram tends to be a little bit more supportive. All that I ever do is put pictures of my wee dog on there running about, or or whatever, or nice things, or throwback pictures, especially just now, when things pop up and a year ago you're doing this, and who would have thought, all that kind of thing. So it's good for that. But like I say, it's an amazing tool, but it can be very dark and very negative sometimes. And I think you've just got to think, these people had a go at Captain Sir Tom. Let's just ignore them.
Yeah.
Don't give them any power over you. That's what you've got to do, I think.
Definitely, and sometimes it's nice to just turn your phone off and get away from it all.
Very wise. It's like a detox, just have a digital detox and look round at the world. Maybe don't take photos, just enjoy it.
Yeah, definitely. So let's find out a little bit about your life and your normal day. So we'll talk about it before COVID rather than what you do now. Because
now it's not much. Every time I phone my mum virtually every day, and we've got to the stage now we're just asking each other what we're having for our tea, because we're on, I know I'm doing stuff and I'm at work, but mum, it's like, well, I went for my walk and I made your daddy's tea, and no, and that's about it. And I watched the telly, and it's crazy, isn't it? But we've, in some ways it's been good. We've certainly, I've had time with my daughter that I wouldn't have had, so that's been good. That's been nice. But it's crazy. But the routine is more or less still the same. I still get up about 5, get into work. Work is very different. Obviously, there's hardly anybody there, and we all wear masks, and I've got a visor thing that I wear I have to wear it until I actually sit down on the sofa, and then I can take it off, and then I put it back on again when I'm going out. The crew, hardly any crew now, they're all in masks. Everybody's washing their hands, everybody's social distancing, and like I say, we're only allowed one guest a day, and it has to be one of the team, like a Dr. Hilary or Mark who does fashion, because they've been tested. So we're very careful, and we've been very lucky that we're all okay. But you have to just keep vigilant, that's the thing. Just have to keep vigilant. And then we've got to leave the offices, or the studio and the offices, quite quickly, and we're doing an awful lot of work at home now, doing a lot of Zooms and of, like planning and stuff like that, and meetings online, and it's doable. It's perfectly doable. But I miss people.
Yeah.
I miss just have a cup of tea before, can have a chat, and what did you watch last night, and what you do. I miss all that. That's hard.
The general conversation. I mean, even in a shop, you can't talk to anyone in a shop. It's just straight in, straight out.
I know that's true, and then everybody's got masks on, so you can't really. Sometimes quite hard. That's quite difficult at work because all the guys in the gallery, like the director and the PA and producers and things, are all wearing masks, and they're all talking to me in my ear. So sometimes I'm kind of like, I'm not really sure what they're saying, and they're all sort of obviously divided. They've got like sort of partitions, so that makes it quite difficult sometimes. But you know what? You just get round it. You have to. So that's fine.
So when you start your day, what do you have for breakfast?
Usually I have the same thing. Either in the winter time I have porridge or fruit with fruit in it, or honey or something like that. And when it's nicer weather, I would just have maybe fruit and some granola or something, maybe with some yogurt in it. Something easy, something really, really easy. And at weekends I would probably have something like, boiled eggs and soldiers, or poached eggs, or a fry up or something like that, something a little bit more adventurous. But at work it's just like quick, and I actually don't have anything to eat in the house. I bring stuff in, and we've got a wee teeny tiny canteen, which obviously there's not much in it just now, so we just get coffee and stuff like that from there, which is really good. Or you can bring, if you've got things that you like to have, you just bring them in with you, so it's all fine. And then we have a big meeting when I come in, because oftentimes things happen overnight, like say they've been the Grammys, for example, or a story has broken out, particularly in America because of the time difference. And obviously the Harry Meghan thing was like that, because that was shown in America, and we woke up to it the next day and we saw it that night.
Yeah.
But we were on that morning before we saw it, talking about it, but we'd seen it, So that's how it works. And then we have a big chat about what we're doing, work it all out. I put everything on my little iPad now. I don't do questions, but I just do sort of like bullet points. And I just write intros and things, and I have it on my iPad. And I've got a great team, a very small team now. It's hardly anybody, but it sort of works out quite well. And then hair and makeup, fantastic. I mean, I didn't have it during the summer, obviously. We've got Helen. Helen has done up like something out of a sci-fi thing. She's got our visors and our big, visor things and our big thing and our PPE and everything like that. She's amazing, and she cleans everything. Everything is cleaned within an inch. It's like, I mean, if I sit still too long, she'll be spraying me. She sprays everything. But it's great. She's really good, and really, it's very reassuring. And then I do my little trail. We go on air, and then, like I say, at the moment we're coming back quite early. Before we probably stay till about midday, just working out what we're going to do. But I tend to do that back here now, so I'm just going to do a meeting with them in a minute, and then later on in the day we just sort of check in, you're monitoring the news and things, and then I sit and do my homework at night. And it's just it's pretty all consuming at the moment, because the stories are obviously with Corona and all these different stories. It's you've got to be up there. Do you know what I mean? You have to sort of know what you're doing and listen to everything. So it's good. It's good. That was sneeze. No, fine.
The trick is to say pineapple.
What, love?
If you say pineapple, you don't sneeze when you need to sneeze.
You know, seriously.
Yeah.
Every day is a school day. So if I'd said pineapple, that wouldn't have happened. I did not know that, Liam. That is definitely something that I'm going to tell the world. That is a brilliant pineapple.
Yeah, pineapple.
Excellent. You don't want to be sneezing on the telly or sneezing talking. Pineapple?
To randomly sneeze or to randomly say pineapple in the middle of your show.
I don't know. That's great. Right, pineapple. I should remember that.
So when you're travelling into the studio, what are you doing on the way in? Are you checking Twitter?
Well, I've got, it's the same guy that drives me into work, or I come in myself, because he's lovely, he gets tested, and I go through the papers, have a look at social, make any changes that need to be made to stuff I've got on my iPad. Be in touch. I'm in touch with the producers anyway. Whether it's that I just give them a wee call. So that time is not wasted time. That's vital time. That's sort of 40 minutes it takes me to get into work. At the moment, probably half an hour, because although the traffic is getting worse, but it's not as bad as it was.
Yeah.
So I always use that time. That time is always used. Coming into work and going out of work is really vital time to prepare or to respond to things. You know, oftentimes we get viewers wanting to know things and viewers writing to us and emailing us, and you know that's a good time on the journey back home to get all of that sorted out and to keep up to date with everything. So yeah, it's pretty full on, but it's good, you know, because I see so many of my friends who are not working, or maybe only working a day a week and things, and you know, you can tell that they just want to get back, you know, they just want to get back into work. So hopefully that'll be soon.
Yeah, hopefully. And before you go on air, do you have any traditions? Like Kit Harington from Game of Thrones kisses a crucifix 3 times. He's very sweet and has great water.
Not really, because it's got really, I suppose it's all the same things that you do. I've certainly got like, I always go upstairs in my slippers. I've always got my grey slippers on, and I've got my high heels in my hand, and then I sit down and put my slippers under the seat. Sometimes I don't do it properly enough, and people watch it, and I change into my high heels. But I always do that sitting down. I cannot walk in high heels. So the only time you see me in them is sitting down in the chair. And sometimes I have to walk from the big screen that we've got over to sit beside Dr. Hilary, and you don't see me walking because it's the titles are on. Thank goodness you don't, because I'm like teetering, you know, it's like crazy. So yeah, I do always do that. I always change my shoes. That's my thing that I always do, yeah.
Does that get you in the zone?
Yeah, I guess. Everybody always says that. I think actors as well say that. Once you put the shoes on, then that shoe, you're away. But yeah, that's kind of, I guess that's kind of what we do. But now I'm terrible because we've got this visor, you know, that I have to wear that you can see through. And the amount of times that I've got up from a chair and walked about 2 feet and then remembered it, so I've got to go back to get it, because you've got to have that, you know, always get that in your head, because everybody's the same. And it's so that's the thing about work. Work used to be so buzzy and so many people, and it's so quiet now. It's just strange, you know. It's just strange. But like I say, we're very lucky to still be able to put a show on, which is really good.
I think everyone's so happy that you do put the show on.
Yeah, I think so. No, we're very lucky.
Do you still get nervous before you go on?
It depends, not so much. There's so much going on, Liam. You know, there's so much happening. Like, you know, people are talking to you and new things are happening, scripts are changing. So you kind of are too busy to be nervous. But, you know, if it's somebody who I really admire, or if it's a breaking news story, it's not so much nervous as there's the sense of you've got to get it right. You know, you've got to make sure that it's right and that you're on top of it. But yeah, if it was somebody like, I remember interviewing Oprah Winfrey, and I was quite nervous because she is the queen and the goddess of interviewers, and she's amazing. And then Buzz Aldrin, who was the second man in the moon, I was beside myself. And I never got a chance to interview David Bowie, but it was probably just as well, because I wouldn't have been able to speak. I would have just been going, you know, like that, because he's just incredible. But yeah, sometimes you do, but to be honest with you, now I haven't done it for so long, and there is so much going on just before you go on air. You don't have time. Do you know what I mean? You just don't have time to even think like that, because there's all these things going on, and you're talking to people. You know, before it used to be actually meeting people and I could talk to them and just to reassure them, especially if they've not been on TV before. Now, of course, we do it on the Zoom during the ad breaks. I can talk to people, or during the BTs, I can talk to them. So I think it's important just to have that sort of, so that they feel better. Because, you know, I've done Zoom sitting there and you're waiting to go into live telly, and you're like, it's quite nice to just hear a voice and you're going, everything's fine, how are you doing? You know, and just it just makes it better just to break the ice if I've not spoken to them before. So yeah, that works fine.
Do you have like a go-to question that you say to your guests as they sit down, or?
Not really. I kind of, when it's somebody who like Nathan, who's been doing the sea shanties, I'm always interested in people who have achieved success, you know, no matter how it may be, but sort of overnight success in that sense, where he went viral, or if it's somebody that's been on the X Factor or Britain's Got Talent, I always ask them, is it what you thought it would be? When you were in your bedroom, you know, singing into your hairdryer or your hairbrush, is it what you thought it would be? And that always gets a really interesting response. Generally, it's not. Generally, everybody says, it's so much harder, you know, so much more difficult. But at the same time, really rewarding. So I always think that's quite a good question to ask anybody who, in that situation, you know, is good. And I always think if somebody's nervous, you should acknowledge it, you know, and just say, it's okay to be, it was fine. It's perfectly normal to be nervous and to be concerned, before the interview. And that's all right. It's my job to make sure that you feel at ease and you feel able to tell your story, because that's the most important thing.
Once someone addresses it, it's quite, you can just kind of relax.
Thank God. Fine. Yeah. Like, of course, who wouldn't be? I mean, it's pretty nerve-wracking to go on live telly, because you're there. You are. You can't say, "Oh, can I just do that again?" You've got to get it right the first time. Or indeed, I always say it doesn't matter if you don't get it right, as long as you just acknowledge it. Like today when Ulrika, I was talking to Ulrika Johnson and our Zoom froze and she went away. I mean, there's no point in not saying, "Oh, that's annoying, isn't it?" Just be normal. Just say, "Oh, that's annoying, but don't worry. We'll get it back and it'll be fine." And people are very accepting, particularly these days. People are very accepting if you just sort of admit there was a wee mistake or a wee glitch or a wee technical error. Happens all the time. It's fine. It's live telly. It's okay.
People are more happy when people mention it, because it's like,
yeah.
It's not even worth tweeting about now, because it's sort of massive. I was going to put Lorraine Kelly massive error in the middle of the show.
Yeah. Own it. Just own it. That's the best idea. Just own it. Just say, "Oh dear, there we are."
What have been your top 3 shows that you've watched during lockdown?
Oh gosh, I loved. I watched Game of Thrones. Rosie made me watch Game of Thrones. I mean, really, actually made me, because I was like, and I loved it. I thought it was absolutely fantastic. I really, really enjoyed that. I watched that thing with Bryan Cranston, Your Honour. It was okay. It's okay. The ending's a bit meh, but that was actually quite good. I enjoyed that. I enjoyed rubbish. I enjoyed really good rubbish, like Selling Sunset.
Yeah.
Bling Empire. I enjoyed that. And Below Deck. Obsessed with Below Deck in all its forms. Below Deck Original, Below Deck Mediterranean, Below Deck Yachting. Loved it. They're the most hideous people in all of God's earth, and I loved it. It was wonderful.
I've only seen Your Honour, so I'll have to watch Game of Thrones.
Game of Thrones. It's good. I mean, it's huge. It's a big commitment, but we've had the time, right? We had the time. There's been some amazing things. I quite like the Umbrella Academy. That was a bit bonkers, but that was quite good. And then I'm watching this thing about the moon. It's like an alternative universe, and the Russians landed on the moon first.
Oh.
And it's called For All Mankind. So it's like it's like what would have happened if the Russians got there first. It's very interesting. So all the people like Neil Armstrong are there, but Neil Armstrong is like the third man on the moon, because the two cause. Do you know what I mean? It's interesting. I quite like it.
I quite like that. What if you've turned left instead of right? What would have happened?
Yes, it's fascinating. Yeah, absolutely.
I think there's one where there's a series where the Nazis win the war, and it shows you what.
The High Castle, the man in the High Castle. Yeah, I watched the first season of that, and then I don't know what happened. Sometimes you watch it and you think, not sure about that. But the first season was really good. It was really interesting. A great premise, isn't it? It's a great idea. Really creepy, though, to see, Nazi signs in New York and the UK and stuff. It was like, oh, my God. Yeah.
It's interesting. What would have happened?
I know. Well, thank God it didn't. That's all we can say.
On Thursday night, your documentary went out, Return of Dunblane, which was really upsetting, but it was brilliant. I don't know how you went back. I don't think I could have.
I've been back a few times, Liam, because my friends there, my friends live there. I've been back to sort of, go to the Dunblane Centre. But it just felt important to mark 25 years. I was very aware that there was a whole generation growing up that that knew about it, of course, but didn't really know particularly about the campaign to ban handguns, and how a lot of people think, Dunblane happened and then there was a gun ban. There wasn't. It was a battle that the parents had to fight a battle, and they were told at the time that they were being over emotional, if you can believe that. I think Boris Johnson wrote a particularly bad account of that the parents were all, this is a nanny state and things. Then you think how many lives have been saved by those brave parents. So I think it was important to go back and tell that story. And again, that was an amazing thing that people trusted me with their story. They trusted me with talking about things that are really hard. So it's been lovely. The feedback's been amazing. Much more importantly than that, though, all of the people that we interviewed thought that we'd done a good job. And that was the most important. Do you know what I mean? That was really the most important thing, and never mind anything else. That was the thing that, it was important.
You're never scared of get into it, Lorraine, either, because when you got in that water, I was thinking, I could have done that.
Great. Honestly, Liam, I would recommend that for anybody who, and we're all feeling a bit overwhelmed just now. We've all had feelings of anxiety. We've all had feelings of, like I say, being overwhelmed. And for Colin, whose little boy Brett was murdered, Colin had a terrible time. He tried to take his own life. He had a dreadful, dreadful time. And God bless him, managed to, I mean, the bravery, the extraordinary bravery of somebody who can come back from that and rebuild their life. But he found it a really brilliant therapy. Going into the water and swimming and lying on his back, looking up at the sky, looking up at the stars, you know, if he was going sort of a bit later, always with a friend, of course, you wouldn't be going on your own. But that's when he thought about his son, that's when he thought about Brett. And it does make you, it's very strange, but it does make me come out, you do feel alive.
Yeah. You
do feel invigorated. Physically, you feel alive, but mentally as well, you almost feel, it's a weird thing to say, but you also feel cleansed. Do you know what I mean? There's just a magic about water, and especially wild water swimming, as opposed to being in a, you know, like a Lido or a pool, you know, like a sort of like a pool in the town, you know. There's just something very special and very magical about it. And he said it saved him. And, you know, we've all got to get there in our own way, haven't we? And he did, and it's amazing.
I will have to give it a go, but I'll have to learn how to swim first.
Well, just immerse yourself. Make sure that you've got somebody with you. Make sure you've got somebody with you. Because if you get the right sort of suit, you'll probably float anyway, but don't go on your own. Don't go on your own. Make sure you've got somebody with you. But it will make you feel better, honestly. Amazing.
I'm going down the coast later today. I'm going to cycle down, so
brilliant.
Might get myself in.
Well, be careful. Just don't be on your own. Baby steps. Just go in. A wee toe first, and then that's all.
The first.
Yeah, just join that. There's plenty of clubs that you can join. I mean, I know just now it's difficult, but you can social distance in a loch or a lake or a river, you know. It's doable. But it's cold.
That's all my questions, I think, unless there's anything you want to add.
No, I just want to add that it's lovely to see you and good to see you. You know, it always is. Hopefully the next time we do this, it can be in person.
Hopefully.
Yeah, I hope so, love. I really do. And just to take care of yourself. It's a strange time, and we're all feeling it.
Okay, so this next bit needs a little bit of context. Otherwise, I look absolutely insane.
On Lorraine, I've got a competition for you to win. You gotta win, you gotta be in, so here are the details. I'm giving away a Range Rover. It's a really nice car and it's a hybrid. It's got all the things you'd want in a new car. You could win a Range Rover. And as well as the Range Rover, I'm giving away 90 grand. 90 grand in cold hard cash. That is the...
I'm so going horribly wrong.
Lids come up.
You're so silly.
Run it, Ralph.
They're human beings, yeah. Yeah, that'd be great.
Well, Chandler and Auntie Peters, I'll finish off with this. I am interviewing Lorraine. She is my favourite guest. Because she has a grin, that is why I love Lorraine.
On that bombshell. Thank you, Liam. Thank you, my angel. Lovely to see you.
Thank you.
Take care.